Welcome to Hope Academy. My name is Mr. O, and today I'm going to be going over the last 3 questions of the section 4 Practice Exam 1 SAT, specifically numbers 36 through 38, which is the free response portion, and calculator allowed. Be aware that for these questions, usually I do them real quick in the beginning, and then I go in depth onto each question that I am working on. Be also aware that after the series is done for specifically math, I plan on expanding onto critical reading, writing, and different sections in the SAT to help you guys out. But for today, I'm going to be focusing on 36 to 38. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. So the question shows this. So for number 36, my final answer is 3. And I'm going to go ahead and explain to you how I was able to solve this question out. So for this question, I actually utilize a little substitution method. So for this question, you actually do need to know, for number 36, you do need to know substitution. And it's not necessarily 100% needed, but for this question, it makes life so much easier to solve this out if you know how to use substitution. And so the question asks you, for what value of x is the function h undefined? The only time that h value here is going to be undefined is if undefined will only exist if, and I'm going to write it down, it's going to be 1 over 0, or aka any number over 0, because any number divided by 0 is going to be considered undefined. And so that's why I made this whole portion right here, x minus 5 squared plus 4x minus 5 plus 4 is going to equal to 0. But this is the caveat that exists based on substitution. It's very hard right now for me to solve this question just because I have these x minus 5s in here. And so for now, I'm going to choose a value, and I made up a variable. I'm going to choose u, because u is a very common terminology. You're going to see later on if you haven't taken AP Calculus, but I chose u. So u is going to equal to x minus 5. And so that means that all of these values right here is going to become u, plus 4u plus 4 is equal to 0. And when I see something like u squared plus 4u plus 4 automatically equals 0, I know that I could factor to solve this out. I could use box method, I could use diamond method. I do have a video that I cover previously in my math portion on this, so feel free to check that out if you want to. But the idea is that when I do the box method or factor it out and whatever not, this is what is going to become. u plus 2 squared equals to 0. And so each of these components, aka I could break it apart to u plus 2 equals to 0. I can make one of these components equal to 0. And this is going to help me solve it out. But be aware, I am not solving for u. That is not my end goal. My actual end goal is to make this x minus 5, find the x value that causes it to become 0. So x minus 5, I'm going to plug it back in. X minus 5 plus 2 equals to 0. So I got rid of the u, plugged in x minus 5. So x minus 3 equals to 0. So plus 3, cancel, x equals to 3. And that is my final answer that helps me solve out for number 36. And that concludes my explanation for number 36. And so to continue on to number 37. So number 37 says this. 2%. Okay. Her initial positive was, okay, interesting. Oh, okay. So for number 37, the final answer for this question is 1.02. And now I'm going to go ahead and explain how I got about to this answer so quickly. So for number 37, 37 is based on a concept of compounded interest. And so usually for this type of question, the equation sort of looks like this. So the final amount equals to my initial amount 1 plus or minus r over n to the nt. Just sort of looks like this. This type of equation might look different in different textbooks and such. It's just that for me, initial amount, final amount lets me know that. So I'm going to write this down, final amount. That's what the little a's are. So initial amount. R is going to represent my rate. N is going to be the number of times it occurs, number of occurrence or occurs, and T is going to be time. Okay, and so there's two n's in here, so they both represent the same thing. So when I am doing this type of question right off, x actually is going to represent this 1 plus or minus r over n. But they mentioned that it only compounded annually, so it only happens once a year. That means that for this 37, and I did this really fast in my mind, I understood that n is going to equal to 1. I understood that my rate r is going to equal to 0.02. This is aka the 2% they mentioned. Be aware that for these questions, they're always going to be in decimal format, and also be also aware that because she is putting money into a bank, I know right off that she is gaining money. There would be no point in a person to put money into a bank if they're going to be losing money, and so we assume that she's gaining money. And we also know that 100, they mentioned her initial amount, so my IA is going to equal to 100. That's for sure. But the question is only asking for x, and x is this value right here. So technically, I took the 1 plus or minus r over n, and made that equal to 1 plus, because we're gaining money, 0.02 over 1, which is going to end up becoming 1, whoops, and I'm going to move up so that you can see this. So as I mentioned before, 1 plus or minus r over n, which is right here, that's the x in the question, is going to end up becoming equal to 1.02, and that concludes my explanation for number 37. And so to continue on to number 38, there's 38. I count that in 2.5 inches. Okay. So this is going to be initial amount after 10 years of time. Okay. So these are the two equations. Okay. So to compute this. Oops. Okay. Okay. So it'll be 6.11. Okay. So my final answer for this question for this question is going to be 6.11. And sorry about that. I just wrote down these little two equations. That's all I did. But the final answer for this question is 6.11. And now I'm going to explain to you how I was able to go about solving this question so quickly. So when I am doing this question, they mentioned two things. They mentioned that they're talking about Jessica, which is going to be the same case as the prior question, where it's 1.02. And I'm going to go ahead and write that right here. So we know that her equation setup is 100x, which we found it was 1.02. to the t, and so we don't know what t is yet, but they're saying that there's two scenarios. Is that Jessica's friend Tyshawn found an account that earns 2.5 interest. So right off I knew it's 1.025, so this is Jessica's. I'm sort of gonna go ahead and explain this, and this is going to be Tyshawn. Hopefully I pronounced that right. And so what happens is that Tyshawn made an initial deposit of 100, very similar to Jessica's scenario, and they're saying that after she deposits the $100 in her account after 10 years, so each of them 10 years, how much more money will Tyshawn's initial deposit have than Jessica's initial deposit? And so they say round to the nearest cent and ignore the dollar signs or whatever not. So what happens that after I got these values, I actually just computed it onto the calculator right here. I just punched it in like this format. I do recommend doing it in this format to ensure that there's no mistakes. A parentheses ensures that it's correct and whatever not. So what happened was that for Jessica, I ended up getting something like 121.899442. I'm just writing down what the calculator says. And for Tyshawn, once I punched in, it will be 128.00845544. So I just did was took these two values, I subtracted the values, and I ended up getting the value of 6.1090124. But the question mentions to round off to nearest cent. So cent is up to here, 9 rounds up. So it's going to be basically $6.11. But because on the exam, you have to also duly note that you don't have that many spaces. You only have 4 spaces or boxes, adding to the fact that there's no unit-based values, and thus why my final answer for this question will be $6.11. And that concludes my explanation for number 38. And that concludes my explanation for section 4 of the practice exam 1. So I have covered all of the math portions. Feel free to watch prior videos if you have questions on other problems. Thank you so much for watching, and please do like the Facebook page or subscribe to our YouTube channel so that we could continue to make content like this for you. I hope you have a wonderful day.